You know, the idea is, if you take your mind out of your body, you would have to, in order to have it inhabit properly and not be sickly, physically sickly, you'd have to put that mind back in a genetically similar body. This is what they were looking for, was the mind that would be added from the reinsert programmer, whatever you want to call them, would have to be compatible with the body. So they'd have to pick kids of the same body type of the people they were programming. We believe they had Italians, we believe they had Irish, and they had blonde, blue-eyed types. You know, Irish, Anglo-Saxon, and then blonde, blue-eyed types for what they were doing. Now, these kids, once they were processed, the ones that lived and survived, we have information from deprogramming 2 boys that essentially they would be sent into special government projects, into genetic research, they would be put back in with their families, or they would be sent off as workers. You know, they could configure the mind to be the perfect worker, for instance. This is what we know of the Montauk Boy Project. We know the big long bunker just north of the radar hill was where they did the work, because we've deprogrammed 3 Montauk boys and they all remember that bunker. In fact, they almost go into fright when they see pictures of it. But they don't go into that degree of fright when they see the overall base itself. You know, as their main memories is in that bunker. They describe that room that has a 3-sided room and then 2 sides this way. They describe a balcony. All this is all 3 in common. Describe a balcony. You can see today there were big hooks that a balcony was hung on. So we have located the area. Now, we've had a number of sensitives, including Helga, in there, do a read on it, and they can feel the horror and the fright and all this that was done in there. And Duncan broke down in one of the bunkers and was essentially trying, I guess, to repent or saying he's sorry or whatever it is. So, you know, we have reason to believe that we've located the area they did this in. That, in a nutshell, is what the Boys Project was about.
Yeah, interesting. How long did that last? Between what periods do you?
Well, we figure it started probably in the 60s out at Montauk. And probably it wasn't as advanced until they got the mind control project going.
Yeah,
where they could
so
do
that
the
was an
actual
aspect of maybe a larger project?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we believe it's still going on.
And it's still going on yet.
Somewhere else?
Now in Montauk,
Oh yeah?
in the underground.
The same type of control? Manipulation?
Well, we've heard rumors of kidnapping still being done as late as 88. If they're working in 88, they're probably still working.
Yeah.
That's like only 5 years ago.
So there is evidence of activity there right now?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also a connection to the programming of the boys with the maybe some of the twin research on twins that was done in the Nazi regime. I don't personally have a lot of information on that, but that's there's a lot of research on twins, psychosexual research on twins, psychic research that I believe was conducted by Dr. Mengele, the Nazi.
Mengele, you mean?
What?
Mengele?
Mengele.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you have any more information, but there is a connection between that and the blue-eyed, the blonde hairs of the Nazis, and also the Pleiadians. There's a legend with the Pleiadians and the blue eyes and the blonde hair, and there's a connection there as well. But I'm not prepared to elaborate on that myself.
Yeah, as with some of the Montauk was just hoarded with German scientists. This is something that my father was involved in before World War II, during and then after, is bringing some of these German scientists over and hiding them in this estate, and then processing through, and then going into these other government projects. Which Montauk, I don't know, what did we figure? 30%, 40% were German-oriented scientists.
Oh, really?
Very, very heavy in that investigation. Of course, then there's the rumor that it's a bit more of a rumor that the Germans did have their working time machine back just prior to the war, and it involved sonics,
And lights.
They were stressing the electromagnetic field enough for it went from a potential form for doing work into a realize. And of course, everything is a potential as the will can end tomorrow. Well, will it or will it not? The degree of it will or will not, and the potentiality, if there is enough information and can be directed and forced, then the potential becomes higher, and then it can do real work. So they had, it was you or Al have the information on that.
Well, that's appeared in a number of these supermarket rags, this idea of the Nazi time machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you guys had it independently of that.
Well, we've had people tell us of it, but we don't know how credible the people are. There's no real solid source of it, but there's enough reports coming in from what we consider to be independent people to say that there probably is some base to this rumor. How complete and how functional their time device was, we really don't know.
Yeah.
There's also a question you asked earlier about the financing. And do you want to answer that, Preston?
Yeah. If you remember, there was a train robbery in Europe right after World War II where they were bringing Nazi gold and treasures out on this train. There's been a few movies made about it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Where they blocked off this tunnel and then the train was robbed. That's been traced. And this has been backed up. Going through to Paris, and then it went on a boat and it went out to Long Island. The boat sunk off of Montauk Point, and what we believe happened is the people from Fort Hero or Montauk Navy Base went out with divers, recovered the gold and such, and the treasure was stashed in the underground at Montauk. This is what they used to run the project for years and years. Then when that money finally ran out, we're talking back in the 40s and 50s, billions of dollars. So in 60s, 70s, and 80s, God knows what it was worth. But when they ran out of money, then it was financed by the military-industrial corporate structure, namely the Krupps. IT&T financed it. So remember, they couldn't have this appear as an appropriation in Washington, because then Congress would ask, what are we spending all this money on?
Yeah.
So it was funded by all sorts of clandestine funds. And mostly it was a Nazi gold, from what we understand, and then it went over to ITT funding.
What other corporations and so forth have been involved in the project?
RCA was involved.
Rand?
Sperry Rand was involved. Hazeltine, we believe, was involved. AIL was
Grumman?
involved. No, Grumman didn't seem to be involved in it. I was handed a list of corporations by one of Senator Goldwater's aides, and today all those corporations are out of business or reorganized.
With a new name.
With a new name,
Oh, yeah.
new management. What's interesting to note here also is in the mid-'80s to late '80s, there was something coming around called a core audit, C-O-R-E, in the industrial plants. The excuse for this was looking for the $250 toilet seat. In this audit, they would send bean counters into each plant. They would go to every person in the plant, including the janitor, the floor workers, the people working on production. What are you working on? What does this tell us? If you're looking for the $250 toilet seat, that's management. The guy building this chassis on the floor, he knows nothing of what this charged for. The fact that they went to everybody and was asked what you're working on, we were told at AIL, do not list. They told us what project to say we were working on. You know, what they were telling us is, well, we take money from this project to get this project going. You're supposedly working on this project. When the orders come in, don't tell them you're working here, but you're working on this project. The only thing that makes sense to me is they're looking for hidden projects. Of course, Montauk was a massive hidden project. And the government, the political government, learned its lesson. That you gotta find these hidden projects. To find these black hole things they don't know of. They were stung once. The way we understand it, Senator Goldwater, before he retired, called for a joint session of the two houses, and he told the lawmakers that essentially the Montauk project was a project meant to control their mine on Capitol Hill. Because imagine how much blue smoke there was on Capitol Hill. At that point, this sent the whole congressional off on a rag towards a military industrial establishment.